They told him he was too short, too light, too one-dimensional. NFL scouts labeled him a gimmick, a guy who'd get swallowed alive by real linemen. But they weren't just wrong. They were about to watch one of the most destructive forces in football history reshape the entire game from the inside out. This is the story of how a kid from Pittsburgh, training in a homemade basement gym at 4:30 in the morning, turned himself into the most feared defensive player in the NFL. Not just in his era, possibly of all time. And if you think you know Aaron Donald's story, you might want to think again. Before Aaron Donald was breaking records in front of millions, he was grinding in silence. In a dark basement his family called the dungeon. It wasn't fancy, no trainers, no cameras, no spotlight, just iron grit and a father who refused to let his sons settle for average. Aaron's dad, Archie Donald, had once dreamed of playing professional football, but that dream was crushed after a string of injuries ended his college career. He made a decision right then, knew if he couldn't make it, his sons would have every shot to go farther than he ever could. At just 14 years old, Aaron was waking up at 4:30 in the morning, dragging himself downstairs for a 2-hour training session with his dad and older brother. No excuses, no breaks, just pain and progress. That basement wasn't just a gym, it was a factory for obsession, and Aaron Donald became addicted to the grind. But all that discipline and sacrifice, it still wasn't enough to win over the people who mattered most, the scouts. And the rejection that came next would light a fire he'd never put out. At Penn Hills High School, Aaron Donald was an Iron Man. He played both sides of the ball, offense and defense, and never stepped off the field. While other kids were catching their breath on the sidelines, Aaron was chasing down quarterbacks or bulldozing defenders. He loved the challenge. By the time he was a junior, he was already being named All-State. By senior year, it was clear Aaron Donald was a problem for anyone who lined up across from him. But when college recruiters came calling, they didn't. Despite his dominance, Donald was only rated a 3-star prospect. The big schools? They passed. Rutgers, Toledo, Akron, those were the kinds of offers he got. Not Alabama, not Ohio State, not even Penn State. Most people expected him to follow his brother to Toledo. Instead, he shocked everyone and stayed home, committing to the Pitt Panthers. It wasn't a flashy choice. It wasn't supposed to lead to the NFL, but for Aaron, it was personal. This was his city, his grind, his shot. What he didn't know then, and what the world was about to find out, was that Pitt wasn't a detour, it was the launch pad. From the moment Aaron Donald hit the field at Pitt, he was a disruptor. As a freshman, he didn't start, but he still played every game, making noise on third downs and earning 2 sacks with several tackles for loss. By his sophomore year, he was a starter and a nightmare. Offensive lines couldn't stop him. He racked up 11 sacks and 16 tackles for loss, finishing just behind future NFL stars like Derek Wolfe and Bruce Irvin, and that wasn't even his peak. In his junior year, the sack numbers dipped, but he posted the most tackles of his career and was named first-team All-Big East. Then came senior year, and everything changed. That season, Aaron Donald didn't just play well, he destroyed every offense in his path. Double teams didn't matter. Entire offensive schemes were built to avoid him, and they still couldn't stop him. He became a one-man wrecking crew, putting together the most dominant season by a defensive player in modern college football history. Here's the resume. Unanimous All-American, Pitt's first since 1980 ACC Defensive Player of the Year, winner of the Outland Trophy, Bednarik Award, Nagurski Trophy, and Lombardi Award. He was a Heisman short of a complete sweep. And yet, somehow it still wasn't enough. NFL scouts zeroed in on the one thing they didn't like: his size. 6 feet 0 inches, 280 pounds. Too short, too light, not what a real defensive tackle looks like. Some said his aggressive, penetrating style wouldn't translate. Others claimed he was too risky, not versatile enough, not NFL ready. But what they missed, what they always missed, was the thing that couldn't be measured: his work ethic, his mindset, his obsession with greatness. The critics didn't just question Aaron Donald, they dismissed him. Too small, too short, too aggressive. Some scouts called his style reckless, said he wouldn't survive the strength of NFL linemen. Others flat out said he wasn't a first-round talent. Even after one of the most decorated college seasons in history, they still didn't believe. Then came the Senior Bowl, and Donald wrecked everyone. One-on-ones turned into highlight reels. Every rep looked like a mismatch, except he was the mismatch. And just when analysts thought they'd seen his ceiling, he walked into the NFL Combine and detonated every narrative. He ran a 4.68-second 40-yard dash, the fastest ever recorded for a defensive tackle at that time. Then came 35 bench press reps, elite agility drills, explosive jumps, all testing in the 99th percentile. This wasn't just good for his size. This was unreal for anyone at any position. But still, the hate lingered. Mock drafts dropped him into the second or third round. Pundits doubled down, said he was a scheme fit at best, but it only takes one team. And with the 13th overall pick, the St. Louis Rams bet on the undersized kid with oversized dominance. And it didn't take long to realize they didn't just get a good player. They may have just drafted a legend. It didn't take long from the moment Aaron Donald stepped onto an NFL field. He looked like he belonged, not just as a contributor, but as a problem. The Rams eased him in at first, using him in a rotation, but 5 weeks into the season, they had no choice. He had to start. He was too dominant to keep off the field, and once he was unleashed, it was chaos. Quarterbacks didn't even have time to think. Offensive linemen barely got out of their stance before Donald was already in the backfield. He wasn't just holding his ground as an undersized rookie. He was blowing past grown men twice his size. By the end of the season, in just 11 starts, he put up 48 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 9 sacks. That's not normal. That's video game numbers from a first-year defensive tackle. He was named Defensive Rookie of the Year, made the Pro Bowl, and sent a clear message to the rest of the league. You doubted the wrong guy. But as great as his rookie season was, it was just a glimpse. The NFL had never seen what was coming next. After his rookie season, one thing became crystal clear. Aaron Donald wasn't just good, he was different. He wasn't supposed to be this fast, this strong, this relentless. By his second season, he shattered any idea that his breakout year was a fluke. He posted a career high in tackles, with 22 tackles for loss, a number that would be elite for a linebacker, let alone a defensive tackle. And he added 11 more sacks to his growing total. That season also marked the beginning of a streak that still hasn't ended. First team All-Pro year after year after year. Analysts ran out of ways to explain what they were seeing. Defensive tackles weren't supposed to beat double teams. They weren't supposed to chase down running backs from behind. They weren't supposed to make All-Pro look routine. So the league gave him a new nickname, the cheat code, because that's what he looked like, a glitch in the system. A player who broke the rules of what was physically possible at his position. Coaches game planned around him, and it still didn't matter. And when the Rams moved to Los Angeles, Donald didn't just carry the defense, he became it. Every snap was a chance to watch something freakish, and in 2017 he got what he deserved, Defensive Player of the Year. Even though he missed 2 games, he still wrecked the league, but the best? That was still on the way, because in 2018, Aaron Donald wasn't just dominant, he put together one of the greatest defensive seasons the game has ever seen. If 2017 proved Aaron Donald was the best defender in football, 2018 made people question whether we were witnessing the greatest defensive season of all time. Before the year even started, the Rams handed Donald the largest contract ever given to a defensive player. Some said it was risky, others called it excessive, but Donald didn't just live up to it, he made it look like a bargain. After going sackless in the first 3 games, he exploded. 10 sacks in the next 5 games, including a 4-sack rampage against the 49ers that felt more like a demolition. And he didn't stop, he had 2 sacks in each of the next 3 games. finishing the year with a mind-blowing 20.5 sacks, the most ever by a defensive tackle. Let that sink in. A player whose job isn't even supposed to be rushing the passer led the league in sacks. And here's the craziest part. He was double-teamed on 70% of his snaps. 70%. Offenses threw the kitchen sink at him and he still couldn't be stopped. Behind Donald's chaos, the Rams surged to the Super Bowl, and though they came up short against the Patriots, Donald was unstoppable every time he stepped on the field. By the end of the year, he had locked in his second straight Defensive Player of the Year award, something only Lawrence Taylor and J.J. Watt had ever done before. And then came the ultimate respect. NFL players, not media, not fans, voted him the #1 player in the entire league. A defensive tackle, ranked above every quarterback, receiver, and edge rusher in the game. But this wasn't a one-time peak, because what Donald did next proved he wasn't just having a moment. He was building a legacy. By the time Aaron Donald hit age 29, his resume didn't just speak for itself, it screamed. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 8 consecutive Pro Bowl selections, 7 straight first-team All-Pro honors, and most jaw-dropping of all, over 85 sacks in just his first 7 seasons as a defensive tackle. That's unheard of. To put it in perspective, most defensive tackles are lucky to hit 30 sacks across their whole career. Donald more than doubled that, and he did it while getting double-teamed on nearly every play. He wasn't just beating linemen, he was breaking the game itself, and he wasn't doing it from the edge, where sacks are more common. He was doing it from the inside, where space is tighter, leverage is harder to gain, and blockers are bigger, but none of that mattered. Aaron Donald turned chaos into control. He made quarterbacks afraid to even take the snap. By 2020, he joined a club so elite only 2 other names were on the list: Lawrence Taylor and J.J. Watt. 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. That's not just greatness, that's all-time status. And yet, what makes Donald's story so compelling isn't just the awards or the stats, it's that he was never supposed to be this. Too small, too short, not a scheme fit. Every scouting report said the same thing. He wouldn't last in the NFL. Instead, he redefined it. So what's next? Is there even another level for a guy who's already done everything? Maybe not. But that's the scary part. He's still not done. As long as he's on the field, there's always another record to break, another quarterback to chase, and another legacy to outshine, maybe even his own. Aaron Donald didn't just beat the odds, he shattered them. He wasn't handed a golden path or born with the ideal size. He built his legacy in the dark, in a basement gym at 4:30 in the morning, with sweat, silence, and something to prove. They said he couldn't. Too short, too light, too much of a gamble. But every time someone doubted him, he added another tackle for loss, another sack, another shattered expectation. He didn't just make it. He dominated, revolutionized, and redefined what was possible for his position. And now, he stands at the edge of history, not just as one of the best defensive players ever, but as a symbol of what happens when raw talent meets relentless obsession. The NFL may never see another Aaron Donald, but the next time someone says you're not built for something, just remember this: neither was he Don, and he became a legend anyway.